Security, and welcome back to the Mercury Minute. Today I'm joined by Jim Townzen from Security Risk Management Consultants, or SRMC. SRMC specializes in independent security risk assessments and technology planning. They help organizations prepare for construction projects, they help identify vulnerabilities, they make informed decisions, and they help ensure that your security investments deliver real value. SRMC is also fully independent, meaning they aren't compensated to push any product or any specific solution, and their recommendations are completely unbiased. So if you have an upcoming project, a new build, an expansion, or you just need some help solving a security-related issue, then SRMC can likely help, and I'd highly recommend that you connect with them. They really do some great work, and they know their stuff. Now, on with the show. Jim, thanks so much for joining the Mercury Minute. I think this session is going to be really beneficial for end users and integrators, and we're going to have the chance to discuss why consultants in the access control or security industry are so important. So really thankful that you're here.
Well, thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's a privilege.
So we'll get started. I want to give you a chance to discuss the organization that you're with, SRMC. SRMC is an independent, women-owned business. You're packed with a ton of industry leaders. What makes you guys different from others in the security space?
That's a great question. What I learned when I came to meet the people at SRMC is there's a plethora of experience. I mean, hundreds of years of experience with inside our organization, but it spans that people, policy, and technology aspect. We have individuals who were deputy chiefs of police at very large universities that have a very focused background in policing and policy. And then we have individuals who've spent their life, like myself, in technology. And you really need all three of those items, people, policy, and technology, to have a successful outcome to an assessment. What SRMC brings is we bring that experience from universities to higher education to healthcare. We really run the gamut of experience and knowledge.
That's actually interesting because coming from the tech world, I focus on technology so much, and that policy component and the experience that some of the members of your team bring to the table, they have to be just completely invaluable. They know what it's like to work in that space. They know the challenges that those verticals face. So it's not just a technology play. There's a lot more that goes into it.
No, you're absolutely right. The biggest assets at SRMC is our people have been there in the trenches.
So let's talk about you, Jim. You started out in the industry working for a DoD contractor as an embedded technician, and now you're VP of technology at SRMC. Being in the trenches earlier in your career, how has that shaped how you approach consulting today?
Well, I think it's communication. We all need each other. I believe that if you have a quality contractor, quality consultant, and an end user who are all willing to work together for the same goal, you can accomplish great things. So what I learned back then is I thought it was, I really thought consultants didn't know what they were talking about. So moving forward, I realized how wrong I was and that we all need each other to have a successful outcome for the end user.
Yeah, there's a lot of collaboration between end user, consultant, integrator, person deploying, and manufacturer. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I agree. There's definitely collaboration. And if you're missing one of those components, a lot of times those projects fall flat.
If the goal is success, then everybody needs to be pulling on the rope in the same direction, and that means we all need to communicate.
Jim, I want to talk about the consultant's role in a project. For an end user starting a major security project, when should they bring in the consultant? What exactly do you do throughout the entire process?
What we would recommend is for the consultant to bring us in the programming phase of the project or before, do a threat and vulnerability assessment on the property of which they're going to build this building. And we create a report that becomes a basis of design moving forward so that the customer can take that information and the design team, not just security design, but the entire project design team has guidelines on how security is going to be managed and implemented by the end user throughout. For example, an end user might go from a building that has one main entry point to having a building that has an adjacent parking garage and another adjacent building across the street. And now they have multiple entry points into the facility that they have to staff. again, and I will probably say this over and over again, people, policy, and technology, right? You can't just throw much technology at something without understanding how the operation's going to be. And I think that's where a consultant really helps through the process.
The amount of groups, the cross-functional work that happens between the architects and the general contractor and technology and IT, it really requires a unique skill set to be able to manage all of that and to demand that you get what you need to have a successful security project. So I think you mentioned this, but in your opinion, the best time to engage a consultant is typically as early as possible, before the building's built, before the wire's pulled, so you don't have to backtrack. You would agree with that?
Absolutely. If you're going to design something to mitigate risks and threats, you need to know what those risks and threats are, and then you develop your mitigation strategies throughout.
Since you're on the Mercury Minute, we probably have to talk about Mercury a little bit. Being a consultant, I know that you have this unbiased view and you're looking for the right fit and feature set and function of systems for your clients. But I know that you've worked on Mercury-based systems and Mercury-based projects a lot in the past. Why have customers demanded Mercury? What have you found that Mercury is really great at or terrible at? Give me your opinion.
Well, I had great success as a contractor and as a consultant specifying Mercury. When a customer comes to us and says, you know what, I am locked into this hardware, I've been locked into it, I can't get out of it, and now I finally have money, and I don't want to be locked into a specific hardware platform later on. Mercury makes sense. Mercury is a solid product. It's a quality product. I've never had major issues. Mercury provides the opportunity for the customer to stay nimble, and they're not locked in. If you have 100 controllers and you have to do an overhaul, are you really going to get the money these days to do an overhaul, or are you only going to get money to do an upgrade?
I think that's a really interesting point. These projects are often very expensive, and probably one of the most expensive components of the entire project is the hardware that goes on the wall, the controllers. My opinion, what I've seen is people usually get that chance once, and you get to pick the right product or platform once. If you lose the ability to have any flexibility in the future on software, that's a painful thing. Mercury gives customers choice. We have 35 or so different access control platforms that all work on Mercury. So you're able to have the hardware foundation, and then if your needs change or if the environment changes, then you could repoint your hardware to any one of those 35 systems.
You're absolutely right. This might not be a vendor issue ever, right? It might not be ABC manufacturer problem. It might work wonderful with Mercury, but in rural Anchorage, Alaska, or Ketchikan, or Juneau, or wherever you might be, XYZ might be better supported there. And now the customer can move to get the support that they need without overhauling all of the hardware.
It's more than just the access control software, the OEM partner of Mercury. It's the support system for that software. I've heard horror stories where a customer has a non-Mercury based system and they have one option for an integrator in their area. Unfortunately, they didn't love that integrator and they had no other choice to get support for their system. On the Mercury side, the nice thing is most people, most integrators, they know how to install and manage Mercury based systems. So if your OEM platform, ABC, if that's not for you and you switch your Mercury platform to something else, chances are there is another integrator in your area that knows how to work on Mercury and probably that other system. It gives choice outside of just your access control platform, but it gives choice on the integrator side too.
Yeah. It provides options. I think that's the biggest thing. It provides the end user options and they're not locked in.
Jim, from your perspective, what's an emerging technology or emerging technologies that maybe aren't fully mainstream yet, but you think end users are going to start demanding in the next 1 to 3 years?
I think there's 2 products out there right now that come to mind. There's this product on the market for weapons detection, and it's truly now weapons detection because they're fully using AI and certain scanning technologies to pick up changes in the body and then identify identifying keys and cell phones and wallets and knowing that a gun signature, whether it be 3D printed or a knife signature, which is ceramic, no ferrous object at all, I believe that people are going to be demanding, end users are going to be demanding a true weapons detection, not something that's just picking up a ferrous metal object. Because we know right now we don't do a good job in our industry of picking up the small little pocket knives. That signature is not really what they're looking for, but that's an abnormality that can be detected with AI. Moving forward, customers are really going to be demanding something that is consistent and not missing those plastic 3D printed guns or ceramic knives that can be taken through a traditional magnetometer and not detected.
What else is new and coming in your mind?
So I really think, and I believe that this has been coming for a long time, is hands-free access control. I'm not 100% sold on that that's going to happen on your device, on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's going to be in combination with things. But there is technology on the market today, and I do know HID has an interesting technology that's out as well, where it's going to be biometric. And the idea with these technologies is eye contact with the reader, and for somebody to walk in full gate, not run, but walk in normally full gate, look at the reader and have the door unlocked. There's a product that's been out for 2 or 3 years now that does that very efficiently. It's just kind of costly for each portal. So I believe the cost is going to start coming down. Market's going to start becoming more competitive. And then the end user will be pushing their legal departments to iron out the biometric piece of this so that they can meet all the state and local requirements and move forward. There are some end users who have found it important enough to do that currently. And I think that's positive. And they are moving forward with it. But there are also organizations that say, you know, we're already dealing with biometric issues at other locations. We're in lawsuits. We're not taking on another risk.
Sure.
So I think that's where it's at right now. But I think it's also because the price points might just be a little bit too high on the products that really meet this requirement. And as those start to come down, there'll be more pressure to make some changes.
You've been doing this for a long time, Jim. What keeps you motivated?
Well, I think the variety. I spent 20 years working for large integrators on the West Coast. And I won't say that I was bored because I worked with a lot of really talented, great people that I learned a lot from. But moving to the consultancy side, I think the variety is really what's keeping me interested today. You know, next week, for instance, I'll be at a very large hospital campus. 2 weeks from that point, I will be at a corporate entity working on their items. You know, we do a lot of higher education work, you know, museums, cultural properties. There's a variety of work within our portfolio that we have a lot of internal experiences. It's nice to learn from the people internally and help support where I can.
Is there a specific vertical that SRMC focuses on, or do you play throughout most verticals?
What we're really known for is our healthcare vertical. 35 years ago, a double homicide at a healthcare facility in Ohio was how Elliot Boxerbaum started SRMC. When he addressed that and helped build an SOC, then he was asked to go to another location, and then SRMC was really born. Healthcare is where we really cut our teeth over the 35 years. We have some very senior people in IHSS, former presidents, one that's coming off of being a president, people with 40 years experience in healthcare. And I think having all of that knowledge within inside an organization is unique to have people who have been in the trenches for 25 plus years and then come and be a consultant and help others succeed in those positions.
And since then, though, you've expanded to many other verticals, though, right? You don't pigeonhole yourself into just healthcare, correct?
You're absolutely right. If I looked at my project list right now, it would be healthcare, cultural property, corporate 1000, higher education, civic, you know, city halls. Security is security, but it has nuances, and we all definitely have our specialties. But again, with the group that we have and the communication that we have amongst our team members, we all work together on everybody's project if necessary to provide the best service for the end user.
Jim, I'm hoping that end users watching in will reach out to you, will say, I have these projects, I want some help. I need some advice. I need your experience. What is the best way for those folks to get in contact with you?
Yeah, email or by phone, either way. I will answer either one of those. We'll get back to you as quickly as possible.
Final words. What do you want to leave the audience with?
Communication. From a security standpoint, we're all in this together. We all want the same thing. The end user wants their building secured. We want to assist them in helping them make it safe. But we need to communicate across all avenues. If this is a construction project, there needs to be communication from the very beginning with the end user, the security consultant, the design team. And that doesn't just mean the electrical design team. That means the architect, making sure features are being placed in appropriately. We need to communicate and not just say, do it, but give an explanation on why it's important to do it. I found if you give an explanation to an architect as to why they should do this, sometimes they have better ideas. They're artists at heart. And I'm not an architect. You don't want me picking your paint color, trust me. But if you learn to communicate with the entire design team, you'll end up with a better result in the end.
Well, Jim, really appreciate the time. I'll put your contact information in here again, and I hope people reach out and love working with you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate you having me on.
Jim, thanks again. It was an honor to talk with you. That's the Mercury Minute. Stay open and stay secure, my friends. See y'all next time.